But yeah, we could maybe start with introductions. So yeah, welcome to this webinar. It's actually a joint webinar between SOC Prime and LogRhythm. So it's co-hosted between me, Till Jaeger. I'm responsible for sales in SOC Prime, and Matt Willems, Director of Product Management, who will co-present this with me. So we'll actually get insights into SOC Prime and into LogRhythm's new Axon platform, and we'll also cover how we cooperate and yeah, what the benefits actually are of bringing both of these platforms together for LogRhythm customers and those who want to be LogRhythm customers going forward. Yeah, I think we are more or less good to start. I don't see any more people joining now, so yeah, let's kick it off. So more or less, we already talked through the agenda introductions we have done. I will walk through SOC Prime and what SOC Prime is briefly, and then we dive into LogRhythm and then we do a live demo. So SOC Prime has been around for quite a while. We're actually on the market for more than 8 years, and we have actually established ourselves as the de facto standard for detection as code. So for those who are not familiar with that term, if you look at modern ways of detecting threats and modern ways of running data lakes and SIEM solutions, then there's an increasing demand of covering threats on a new and emerging threat basis, where you don't stick with a fixed set of detection code or rules, as you want to call them, as this has been done 10 years ago. But there is an increasing demand of having like a floating window of more or less detection rules going through your data and yeah, detecting what came out yesterday. And this is the area we play in. And as we have to establish ourselves there, we have built a platform which empowers detection engineering teams and security analysts, regardless of their expertise, from more than 9,000 organizations around the world, to actually respond faster and much more efficient. That also includes government bodies. So we have quite some government customers and actually 14 certs. And we do also have a very close relationship with these certs, where which gives us first-hand access to yeah, new threats that emerge, and we build content right away for that. I'll dive into details of the platform also during the demo of it. But in an essence, it consists of 3 major modules. The threat detection marketplace, which is the core behind our platform, and which has been around for the longest, which is a vast repository of threat detection content across more than 30 different platforms. There is Uncode AI, which is basically the detection engineering workbench for someone who crafts detections or who wants to migrate detections, for example, from one platform to another, which is a brilliant use case when you want to migrate to the new Axon platform. And there is Attack Detective, which addresses not the detection engineering side, but more the SIEM engineer who, for example, yeah, wants to make sure that he has the proper coverage in terms of logs, or the hunter analyst who wants to automate a big chunk of his analyst and hunting portion. In some numbers, we actually have a 24-hour SLA for producing new detections. That means we actually run a 24/7 team who crafts new detections for new and emerging threats. Overall, we produce roughly 200 new detections every month, which results in more than 12,000 detections in our platform, which is huge. And All of these detections, by the way, are MITRE attack tagged. So that's where these numbers: 60 tools, 192 actors, 482 techniques. So throughout the whole MITRE attack matrix, we cover many different behaviors and attacks. And this is also very helpful if you want to align your defenses to the MITRE attack matrix. Then we help you with that, and the whole content actually aligns to that, and you can easily report on where in the MITRE attack matrix you're covered and where your gaps are. So why would you combine a SOC Prime subscription with LogRhythm? There are lots of different use cases why you would do this. Here are a few to get started with. So maybe you want to actually establish a collective cyber defense process where you can cooperate with the community to be faster in creating, testing, and tuning detections. Maybe you want to establish a threat-informed defense process as it's been outlined by the MITRE attack institutions, and also that's something that we can help with. Maybe you just want to increase the amount of detection use cases you want to cover, and want to have a broader vision on your infrastructure. You want to reduce your time to detect and respond, and a very important point also, we can help you to ease the migration to the new Axon platform, even if you are coming from a completely different vendor, and that's something we can also show during the demo later on. From those modules I have shown earlier, the integration we have now built with LogRhythm is complete and in production for basically threat detection marketplace and Uncoder. The attack detective, which is the hunting piece, is currently in plan and will come soon, and that's something we will probably demonstrate as soon as it is there in a dedicated presentation, a dedicated web session to show the benefits there as well. And yeah, with that, I hand over to Matt to quickly walk through the Axon platform before we show the integration live.
Great, thank you so much, Till, and thank you to everybody for the time today. Let me see if I can get my screen share started up here so that we can continue through the presentation portion before we get into demo. So that was a great setup. You know, why is it so important to have this collaborative cyber defense and you know, detections as code supported in your security ecosystem? It's really about staying on top of emerging threats and following existing best practices, not falling victim to something that's been known in the market for some time as, you know, something that you need to watch for. So the last slide that Till presented is kind of this box on the right of a summary of what Axon is. I'd imagine most of you watching this webinar, whether it's live or you're watching it later on a recording, may be unfamiliar with Axon. You may be familiar with LogRhythm, but Axon is a new term. So we kind of want to start with, well, what is this Axon thing that we're talking about? So LogRhythm has been around for a long time, just like SOC Prime, been in the market more than 20 years in SIM, security information and event management. You guys are all familiar with kind of the concept there. So what about Axon? Well, we recognized some time ago that technology was changing, environments were changing, a significant shift to cloud resources, and saw this need to satisfy a new type of customer demand through a cloud native SaaS delivered SIM application. So that was essentially the origin of LogRhythm Axon. It's been in the market for over a year and a half now. Things are really taking off. It's moving incredibly quickly, and I'll be able to showcase that more in just a moment. But at its foundation, what is Axon? Well, you can see in kind of the 4 quadrants of this slide here: monitor, detect, investigate, respond. Get data into the platform, perform detections against it, run those investigations to ground, respond to those detections, and that feeds back into collecting more data, performing new types of detections. Now, we feel like it's really, really critical to have a handful of principles satisfied in a SIM platform. It's got to be flexible. It's got to update incredibly quickly. This is a fast-moving market. You can't have products that move slowly. That's never going to be successful. We have to get data into the platform. Just full stop. If you can't get data into the platform, then integration with Uncoder and the rest of the SOC Prime suite, any other type of downstream capabilities, they just don't matter, because if you can't get data into the platform and you can't treat it properly, then what are you detecting against? We have to have an incredibly powerful analytics engine for the exact reasons that you're seeing on this webinar. Detection logic is evolving incredibly quickly, and the security analytics capabilities have to be able to keep up with that. Once detections are made, users need to be able to effectively investigate and respond. And that's going to be part of the demo in just a few minutes. And so it's really that analyst experience. These are, the folks sitting in chairs driving the application. They're responsible for security in their organization. If they don't have a tool set that they're knowledgeable and comfortable using, that's going to lead to trouble. So these are principles that we think are absolutely paramount in having a successful SIM application. Now, taking a bit of a double click on what do these actually mean for the SIM, just kind of expanding each of those boxes out a little bit. So when I said feeding data into the platform, we have to be able to collect from anything, whether it's on-prem or a cloud source, whether it's a known source or something completely novel, could be a new vendor, could be a custom application. We have to be able to get that data into the platform. Not just collect that data, but normalize metadata from it and enrich it. We think normalization at the time of ingest is absolutely critical, because that's how you prepare data properly to feed into analytics, whether that's a stream processing, signature-based detection, a behavior-based detection. You're going through machine learning models. The detections that can be made are only as good as the preparation of the data for those analytics steps. It's absolutely critical. Once we've got that happening, then, there's just kind of the basics of a SIM. I've got to persist that data for search, whether that's long-term forensic search, reporting, dashboarding. We're performing those security analytics detections on it in signature-based fashion, in behavior-based fashion, but all real-time, and then performing or making available the incident response capabilities so that users know what's happening in the platform. They can effectively investigate and respond. All of that needs to live inside of an API-first framework so that we play nicely in a complete ecosystem. With applications like SOC Prime's Threat Hunter, you have to be able to get into the platform, retrieve data to support that kind of integration. Now, I'm gonna re-emphasize the point on preparing data for analytics. Log data can be incredibly messy. We're on both sides of this. We consume log data. We also write out our own log data. We know how big of a challenge it is to write a nice log that a human can read and a machine can take full advantage of. So we've built the normalization capabilities in Axon with that in mind. Users have to be able to get in and really quickly normalize log data. That's how we're able to add context to log data. It's not sufficient to just say, hey, I see this IP address, it's in a log. Okay, well, was that traffic denied or allowed? Was that the source, or was that the destination? Or was that the firewall itself, or the network device that sensed it? This is all critical data to understanding what does that log mean, so that if a detection is made from it, you can filter your detection, you can tune things out that might be irrelevant, but you can also really quickly understand, here's what actually happened in that event, to know how to respond to it. This is completely critical to having a proper detections as code framework. And I said at the beginning, Axon has been in the market for over a year now. It's evolving incredibly quickly. This is one of the strongest capabilities I think that LogRhythm has today, is not the software that we have right now, but how quickly we can respond to things. Just like Till said earlier, having emerging threat detections in SOC Prime within 24 hours, well, we're able to respond to new collection technologies and capabilities, new sources, things that come up in software, we can adapt to incredibly quickly. So it's a very, very powerful platform in that regard. So next up, we want to jump into some demo. So I will need to figure out how to change what I am screen sharing. We're going to pick a different screen here. And hopefully now you can see GitHub, because that's where I wanted to start things is let's actually take a look at what the integration itself looks like. So let's see if I can find my mouse. So here I'm just in the Sigma HQ GitHub repository. This happens to be an emerging threat rule. And the first thing I'm going to do is just copy that rule. I also have Uncoder open. So all I need to do is drop that Sigma rule into Uncoder. You can see the Sigma rule is detected as opposed to the other formats that Uncoder is able to work with. And then in select a platform, we're going to see LogRhythm Axon. And I've got two options in here. I've got query and rule. And this is probably pretty self-explanatory, but just in case anybody is not aware, I can convert to a query essentially for threat hunting. That's really what we're doing here. So I can copy this query. I can take this query back to LogRhythm Axon. So here I am on the dashboard. We have the search bar at the top. I'm just going to click into the search bar. I'm going to hit paste. And now you can see the search that we've built out. So here I'm looking for the URL criteria that was used in this Screen Connect authentication vulnerability. Now, I don't see anything in the last 24 hours. By default, Axon searches 24 hours, but maybe I need to go a little bit further out and say, well, what about the last week if we didn't see it in the last 24 hours? And you can see already we've got 2 hits on that detection. So this is probably something that I need to go take a look at and see if this host was compromised. What's great here is I've got this log data returned. I can click on a row and I can get the full metadata that was extracted from this log. This includes the enrichment data. So we extracted this as the origin IP address. We know this was the source of that traffic. We went ahead and did geolocation on it and extracted ISP info as well. So now that I have this, if I needed to validate anything, I can also go straight to the raw, in this case, web server log if I need to. But in most cases, I'm going to have everything I need right here. Now, as an analyst, my next step in that threat hunt would probably be something like, I'm going to select that log data. I'm going to go ahead and create a new case for it. We can set that aside for the purposes of demo. But the full kind of threat hunt workflow would be there. I can come back into this origin host IP, run a pivot search off of that to see what else this host has done in different time ranges. If I needed to go back to, well, we started with 7 days, let's go to 14 days and see if that host did anything else under 14 days. Yeah, there's a lot of traffic. You see how quickly I'm able to perform those threat hunting capabilities. Back in Uncoder, wanted to show off the other capability here. So again, under LogRhythm Axon, this time we're going to switch over to rule. We'll hit translate, and now I have a rule definition. I can download this rule definition, and then within Axon, in this administration section, we'll go to rules. And all I would need to do is upload that rule. And now, rather than threat hunting, I have a detection rule in place to say, I've already seen activity around that Screen Connect vulnerability. Tell me the next time something happens that aligns to that detection. I'll edit a different rule here just to kind of showcase what this could look like, where I can come in and automatically set this to create a case. I can assign this to myself if I need to, add description details. And then anytime that detection is made, it's automatically going to create a case for a user to respond to. So that's kind of the administrative workflow. Now, if I put myself in the shoes of an analyst who is responding, maybe I'm starting my shift as an analyst and I've got this handy case dashboard right here. You can see very quickly, I've got 44 open cases, 13 of those are still unassigned. Break down the open cases by severity. So there's 10 critical open cases right now. That's probably where I would need to start. So let's start taking a look at some of these cases. I can work my way through the list here, but just to pick on one kind of at random, here I've got a MITRE aligned detection that says, this was preventing a system from being able to recover. So, well, what happened here? I can see that evidence has been added to this case, and I can actually see that a lot of evidence has been added to this case. So what's happening here is this rule has fired repeatedly for the same process and the same host. Rather than creating a new case every time and generating noise in the system, Axon is able to say, hey, that was the same activity as last time. Your case is still open. I'm going to add evidence to that case, set the updated date, refresh the updated date, and that way you know this is still happening. This is something you need to pay attention to. I, as an analyst, well, I need to know what that was. So all I have to do is click on that set of evidence that's been automatically added by Axon. And here you can see the detection itself and the underlying log that caused the detection to be made. I don't have to perform any kind of drill down. I don't have to go run a search. I don't have to do anything else. The data is just presented right here. Now, I've got a nice snapshot of the data. I can see now, the host, the process, there's user info in here as well. I can see the system account was the user related. Maybe I need some more information. I really need to know kind of what was this detection that was made. Well, I can just click on it. And here you can see the single screen investigation workflow where I can see from the case list over here on the left, the details of the case, evidence within the case, all the way down to the row level detail of a single log evidence. So now I can see the full details of that MITRE tactic and technique. I can see how that rule has behaved, how many times has it fired in the last 24 hours. And I've got all the metadata for that detection broken out here as well. I can also see that it was medium severity. Maybe I need to go to the underlying log. Maybe there's additional data in there that I need to qualify or pivot off of or something like that. Well, I just need to click on that log. And now you can see all of the details here, Python being executed and the actual command that ran in this case. So I, as an analyst, kind of have everything laid out in front of me here. I could come back in. I've already added myself as a collaborator. I could take ownership if I need to. Commentary. I can add links to external resources, kind of whatever I need to complete this investigation, run it to ground, change the status, say, yep, we closed this one out. Was it resolved or false positive? I can update the severity if I need to. If in the process of my investigation we find that this was a further compromise, there's more going on here, I can bump that severity up as needed. Add other collaborators, call in backup if necessary. So really putting that complete investigation workflow at the user's fingertips is what we found, to be the customer demand. It's going back to that ease of use and providing a seamless analyst workflow, like I said at the very beginning. Also wanted to highlight, in this resource center, we've got all the announcements for LogRhythm Axon and updates that are made every 2 weeks. We've actually got an announcement in here around the Uncoder integration, as well as a link to the MITRE attack framework and uncoder.io directly from within Axon. So we've got all of those resources available at the user's fingertips. So just really trying to make sure that everything is available to a user who might need it. So with that, I think I can kind of close out the demo portion, unless there's anything that I might need to answer questions about via demo, but I think I can hand things back over to Till to help steer the Q&A.
Actually, before we dive into Q&A, we have an extended demo with our platform as well, so we can actually walk through that as well, so we get a common understanding of where the SOC Prime benefits are in this scenario and what we can do. So what Matt already presented on Code.io is our open source engine to translate Sigma or Router rules into nearly any platform which is on the market available. And this is an open source product, so it's freely available, very popular. And it also demonstrates that we contribute to the open source world quite a lot. There are more open source projects. You find most of them actually also documented on our website. However, there is more to Ancora than just the open source version. As I mentioned earlier, the platform consists of a number of modules, and we have also Ancora AI, which is basically the commercial sister of Ancora.io. which can not only translate a Sigma rule into Axon, for example, it can also reverse translate other platforms, and with that, it helps you to migrate into LogRhythm Axon. So let's assume you come from one of the popular scenes out there, but you're so keen on now getting moved to LogRhythm Axon after this presentation that you somehow want to also to migrate your custom content, right? And this is where Encode AI comes into play, because it allows you to migrate right away from your existing SIM into Axon. And in order to demonstrate this, let's take actually a rule out of the threat detection marketplace, which I can also demo in a second. But let's first look into Encoder to actually keep the flow. So let's just take I just take a random rule here. Signal messenger drops suspicious files. So let's take this one. So I've opened actually a rule in the marketplace. Every rule actually has quite a lot of intelligence around it. So you see severity medium, status stable. It's actually authored by SOC Prime, which is not always the case. The platform is also open to a threat bounty community, which is pretty active and which publishes content on the platform as well. We also mirror the official Sigma GitHub repository to a certain extent to give you like a one-stop shop for everything, so you don't need to search around. You'll find everything in a single platform. But yeah, let's go here and let's assume for the sake of demoing you are running Splunk today. And so let's take, for example, this Splunk query here. I just copy this query. I go into my Encoder AI. I've already selected Splunk here as a source. I paste it in there. I've just taken the query portion for now, and let's see if we can make this a LogRhythm Axon query. And I don't know why I get an error message, because I tested this before. It's real on the website. So and do it again. I don't know. Maybe that's just everything too long. So let's start it again. So we're gonna go from there to Axon query. Okay, maybe maybe the website was just open too long without any action. So you see, I used the Splunk query here, and I translated it right away to Axon. So there is no need to actually go via Sigma or anything else. It goes right from Splunk into Axon, and you can actually select other platforms here as well as a source if you migrate from another platform. The same thing goes with rules. So if we go here and take from the same detection, actually the alerting rule. So let's copy this, go over here again, delete the query and say, okay, have a Splunk, no, not a query, an alert. You paste it in there and you select some rule. And you should be able to translate this right away. And you can also turn this into a rule from Splunk. So with that, actually, your custom content, when you migrate one platform to another, can easily be migrated over. So it saves tons of work in the migration phase. However, before you translate your content, it is always useful to see, okay, is there anything which in the platform which already covers my use case? So maybe I don't need actually to translate the use case. Maybe SOC Prime already has it, and then it does make more sense as a first step to see, okay, is my use case covered by a standard rule in the platform? And as I said, the platform has more than 12,000 detections, and most of them are already translated to the LogRhythm's platform. The one thing which I want to point out as well, when you try the platform and you'll blend in links to sign up to the platform at the end of the demo. The platform is actually based on a community model, so you can actually sign on to the platform and try it out and get access to most of the functionality. But the one thing which I want to point out to make sure you don't struggle with that, and it also was mentioned earlier by Matt when he said, okay, you can take a query for hunting, or you can take a rule for alerting. You will also see for most detections that we have these two tabs here, queries and alerts. Now I've intentionally taken a detection which has a query and an alert. When you go to the platform and you search for detections, you will find situations where there is only a query and no alert. And this is intentional because the platform covers real-time alerting as well as threat hunting. And as you as the expert probably know that often for hunting, you need to define a broader scope in order to surface more indicators, but you would not use the same query for a detection because it would just swamp you with alerts. So that's why we differentiate here only for those detections which are, let's say, so precisely defined that we have quite a good confidence that it wouldn't fire too many alerts. We will create an alerting rule right away. However, if your confidence is high enough and there is no alert pre-configured, you can of course always turn a query into an alert. So if there is only a query and the alert says there is no alert, you can take the query, go to Uncode AI, and you can actually translate a query into a real-time alert. Just be aware what you're doing, right? There might be an intention why you didn't create an alert, but if you have confidence it doesn't fire too often, then feel free to do so. The platform covers any major field sets. So if there are multiple schemas in the platform, this is all covered and pre-configured and can be customized for your own schema. So it's highly flexible. Yeah, and maybe as an outlook going forward, there is the third module, which is not yet integrated into Axon, but that's on our roadmap for the coming months, is the Attack Detective, which is an automated hunting tool. And it actually, as I tried to phrase earlier, it actually addresses two major use cases. So, and it also addresses two different teams because it helps you with your posture management. Do I have the right log sources and am I missing events? Is the one thing which does. So it does a data audit. It shows you the visibility and also shows you potential blind spots which you have because you're not collecting the right events or missing certain events. And once you're happy with this, we address the next use case, which is the analyst who actually wants to apply queries automatically, or the threat hunter who doesn't want to copy a query over into the platform. You can actually define hunting scenarios and say, okay, I'm interested in sandworm activity or APT29 activity or whatever, and then run this hunting scenario against most of the cloud native platforms. As I said, Axon's coming there as well as a cloud native API first platform. We will cover that as well, and it will be fully integrated here. This just as a preview. As soon as the integration is ready, we will run a separate release webinar on that as well. Good. Then with that, I would say we switch to questions. And yeah, maybe to kick things off, I've already seen one question popping up earlier. That was the question. Okay, how can this be tested? As I mentioned, actually, slides. Before I go into these questions, let me briefly cover RSA. So we are at RSA conference. You will see us at the LogRhythm booth. So please join us at RSA. Come along and chat with us on the RSA conference. Yeah, and someone asked how can this be tried out? So these two QR codes actually lead to ways of trying out both platforms. So on the left, SOC Prime is a community platform, so you can sign on to the platform and you can utilize it to a certain extent. There's no time limitation, but there is, of course, some limitation and functionality and what content is available in community. But most of the functionality can be tested. And LogRhythm runs regular capture the flag events. So this leads you to one of those, or the website actually you can sign on for these, they call it Log Wars, which is actually, I like the name, and I already decided that I'm going to try it out myself. So yeah, that is probably also a good step to dive into the Axon platform. Also, there was another question popping up. Someone asked, okay, I said earlier we have like 12,000 detections, so where should you start, right? I understand that many people struggle finding the right things first, and then they need some guidance. So the platform we offer has a very comprehensive filtering mechanism. So you can easily search by use case, by attack scenario, or by a MITRE tag or whatever, to filter things down. But we also offer what we call a smoking gun list. So there is a moderated list of detections which we consider that everyone should have it. And so when you sign on to the platform, there are a number of lists, a number of recommendations. I can actually, you still have time, right? I can show you that. So when you go into the platform and you click on Threat Detection Marketplace, you end up in this overview here. And then you see here recommendations by latest vulnerabilities. Log sources is actually based on a profile you can configure. So if you put your log sources into a profile and you apply this profile, then you get recommendations for your log sources. Threat actors, you can also configure threat actors which are relevant to your organization. Here is the smoking gun list. Just click on it and you get a recommendation of smoking guns. We also have a list which stems from the cooperation with the certs I mentioned earlier, which we call Cert Toolkit, which is basically another list. And those lists can also be used for hunting or deployment. So it's not that you need to pick the rule one by one. If you like, you could actually take the smoking gun list and use this as a complete hunting scenario inside Attack Detective. Good. Any more questions? Or Matt, anything you want to add here?
I don't think I had too many additions. Glad to hear you're planning to sign up for Log Wars. That's been a long running event that actually started at our user conference a number of years ago. We migrated over to LogRhythm Axon after we launched Axon. It's a lot of fun. It's a great capture the flag event. It's always very competitive. So I'm excited to share the love of Log Wars.
Good. Any more questions? Please also use the Q&A panel. You can post questions there. You'll see them and you can answer them. And if there are no more questions, then yeah, we are looking forward to see you signing up to both platforms. And if you want to deep dive and want to understand more, reach out to either of us, and of course we run a dedicated session for you and help you understand in more detail what we can provide. Thank you.